Hello, Trig class. These videos are still working through the practice test lecture on section 8.3, and we're up to number 7 now. The directions say use a product to sum identity. So take something that's a product, like this, sine of 4x, cosine of 4x, that's a product, and they want to write it as a sum or a difference. So you look for something that multiplies and changes it to adding. The 3 doesn't matter, it's just there. It won't affect anything we do, we just have to keep it there because it is there. So you take a look at your formula sheet and you look for product to sums. These are all products to sums. We want the one that goes sine times cosine. So you look for the one that's sine times cosine, it's the very first one. So we're going to use this one. Okay. Like I said, the 3, we just need to keep the 3 around because he is there. And then to change it from a product to a sum, you just use this formula, which is 1/2 the sine of the sum of the angles, which would be 4x plus 4x, times the sine of the difference of the angles, would be the sine of 4x minus 4x. Okay, so 3 times 1/2 is 3/2. 4x plus 4x is 8x, so that's a sine of 8x. And then times, or it should be, it's plus, there's an addition sign in between. So I should have written that addition sign, which I'll write now. That's a plus. And then sine of 4x minus 4x is sine of 0. So that's the answer. Now the sine of 0 is 0, so if you want to just put a 0 in for that part of it, you can. But that is the answer to that question. There's a product, and that, because of the plus sign, is a sum. Okay, same deal. You're looking for a product, and you want to turn it into a sum. And if you look at our product, this time, it's sine times sine. And this is the one that's sine times sine. Right, the 4 is not important, but there's a 4 in the problems. You just got to leave it there. You don't need to do anything with it. Okay, so we're going to do this one where the first one is the angle 2 beta, the second angle is the angle 3 beta. So according to this, we can replace the product with this sum, 1/2 times the cosine of the difference of the angles, which would be 2 beta minus 3 beta, minus the cosine of the sum of the 2 angles, which would be 2 beta plus 3 beta. Okay, so 4 times 1/2 is just 2, and then when you do the subtraction on the inside, you get the cosine of minus beta minus the cosine of 5 beta. And that's it. And then, like, we're done with that. You should keep in mind that sometimes your answers can be correct, but just be expressed differently than what you might see in a book for some problems. It doesn't mean you're necessarily wrong. It just means you possibly could have written it differently. For example, cosine of minus beta, because cosine is an even function, cosine of minus beta is the same as cosine of beta. So another way to write the same answer expressed differently would be 2 times cosine of beta, because cosine of minus beta is cosine beta, you have minus the cosine of 5 beta. So either of those last two answers are correct, whichever way you want to write it. And that's a difference. We wrote it as a difference. All right, still working. All right, next one is a product again. And the product is cosine function times cosine function. So we're looking for the one on the sheet that's cosine times cosine, and you do get to use the sheet when you take the test too. So the one that is cosine times cosine is this one. The 3 isn't doing anything. We'll just leave it there. And you can rewrite it as a sum by replacing it with 1/2 the cosine of the angles added together, which would be 105 plus 140, plus the cosine of the difference, which would be 105 minus 140. All right, and that half is in front of the whole thing for the identity. So that's why there's a parenthesis there. All right, so that would be 3/2 cosine of 105 plus 140 is 245, plus the cosine of minus 35 degrees. Okay. Now you could leave it like that. Again, you might see it expressed differently, but an equally good answer would be if you change this from minus 35 to 35 degrees, because just like the last one, cosine is an even function, so the cosine of minus is something is the same as the cosine of the positive at something, so you might see it written this way. So I'll write it just in case you see it differently expressed, because it's the same answer. So either one of those last two are the right answer. All right, next one. This one is a sum, because it's this plus the negative of that, so that's a sum. You could call it a difference if you wanted to, either way. And you're supposed to change it into a product. Okay, so we look for ones where there's, on the formula sheet, where there's a difference between two sine functions, but it can be written as a product. All right, so we go to our sheet looking for a difference of sines. So let's see, difference of sines. Okay, that's like this one. Sine of one angle, sine of one angle, sine of one angle minus the sine of another angle. So we're going to use this one. And according to this one, the difference of these two angles is what you get if you just rewrite it as this product of cosine of the two added together divided by 2. There's a 2 also in front, times the sine of the difference. Now the difference would be 50 minus 145. And that also gets divided by 2. So this would be 2 times the cosine of 195 divided by 2, which would be 97.5 degrees. And the sine of 95 divided by 2. The sine of 95 divided by 2 would be 47.5 degrees, if you work that out. So there's the solution to number 10. We'll keep working. Okay, then lastly, yes, which of the following equations is not an identity? Well, we're supposed to know that cosecant is 1 over sine. It's like a definition for cosecant. And if cosecant really is 1 over sine, then this is sine times 1 over sine, which really is 1, so that's got to be okay. This one, cotangent, we're supposed to know is cosine over sine. So if we just replace, let's say cosine divided by sine. So if we just replace this with cosine over sine, the sines would cancel, and you just get cosine you're supposed to. So that one's okay. So the only possibilities for the one that's wrong are these two. And it's a double angle 1, and that's actually in the handout. So it's for the cosine of 2 theta. According to the handout, the cosine of 2 theta is 2 cosine squared theta minus 1, which is this one. So that one's got to be okay. And this one says 1 minus sine squared theta. And that is not what it is. It's 1 minus 2 sine squared theta. So this is the one that's wrong. Okay, that's it for this section, and I will see you next time.